Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our weekly stock market update video. This is where we do analysis on the overall market, QQQ, S&P 500, as well as the Mag 7s. We'll be looking at their support and resistance levels and trend analysis to give us more clues where the market is potentially heading next week. And before we do that, let's take a look at the data real quick. So fear and greed index still sitting at 64, so just chilling on greed, nothing too extreme or anything. And AI system data last week actually came in a lot more bearish than probably most people anticipated. So this probably fueled the market up a little bit higher because everyone is being bearish. So they're probably getting squeezed out on the shorts. And in terms of earnings, mostly retail next week. And so if these retails come in not as great, it might drag the S&P 500 retail sector down. You have Home Depot, Target, Walmart, all coming in. So just keeping an eye on that. Earnings have been coming pretty good, so probably nothing too surprising, but who knows? Maybe retailers are weakening. So we have to see how they come in. And in terms of economic data, we have the minutes coming in. This is not the meeting. This is just the minutes releasing. And initial jobless claims. And we'll also have to see how Powell speaks this Friday, because this week, the PPI and came in pretty darn high. So we got a spike in inflation data, and so we can see that the tariffs are actually having impact on inflation at the moment. So we'll see how he talks about it this week. All right, let's look at the charts. So QQQ currently, obviously we talked about this 2 weeks ago, saying bears always needs to create enough space to potentially create a downtrend. They got the first step, but they never ended up confirming the downtrend here. As you can see, they tried on last Tuesday, and bulls ended up just V-shaping. And last week I said this is pretty much bears where bears need to defend it, but they didn't either. So I guess they've been ending off them highs. So what's the going forward for now, right? So what I'm looking for is we get a bigger retracement here, potentially down towards this 564 area. Then we create that space for the potential downtrend. We may also form something like potential like resistance there. You can see rejection, 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 rejection. So even if we slow grind up, right, we might make a normal leg up to like 586 here. Getting to that zone where it's like things are slowing down a little bit, especially into the end of August and September. So if we pull back, potentially, I wouldn't be surprised if we see potentially a sideways action here. And if we do see weakening data, then we might probably roll down. So what we want to see is at least, for the bears, is at least form a sideways action, and then you break down below it, right? So on this entire way up, we talked about not shorting, because not once has the bears confirmed a downtrend, right? Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, and higher lows and higher highs. So every time you make the low is a higher low, meaning the bulls are buying up at a more expensive price than previously. So yeah, so this entire time there is no downtrend, right? You get these little tiny drops with no space, and the bears just bulls just V-shaped the whole thing. Last 2 weeks ago was the only time where they created enough space where they can potentially shift the downtrend, but they didn't do it. So let's see if they do, show up maybe this week. But for now, no signs of that yet. That being said, if we zoom out to the weekly charts, we are definitely extended, right? But extended can stay extended, right? You see these moves, 30% moves, right? So 44, 48. So we are getting to that area where it's like there isn't that much upside anymore, right? Maybe we get a 5% more upside, but it will very likely pull back, right? And give back all that 5%. All right, let's say we make one more leg up, right? We'll come up here, over here and they make that 5% move, it's very, very likely that's going to just come back down and then form sideways in that area. So not much upside left, in my opinion. And let's see if bears can really come from anything, to be honest, this week. And this red line is just from previous all-time highs, right? To previous all-time highs, resistance. And you can see that, okay, it broke out already above it. Wait, let me zoom out, right? But if we zoom out to the monthly, last month it's kind of like upper wick below it, but this month is above it, but this month is not over yet. So if it does come back, technically this still is acting as resistance. So let's say, 2 weeks later we're trading around here, or next week, right? So then that means this line is still valid and it has rejected from the monthly trend line. So let's see if bears will show up. I wouldn't be surprised bears actually end up showing up in the next 2 weeks, and then we just go sideways a little bit more, right? And if we go sideways, consolidation, that's the best case for bulls because we're consolidating sideways near the all-time highs. What bears need to do is, after the consolidation sideways, break below the structure, right? And for any kind of real bearish action. But at the moment, you can see, right, every time bulls build a structure, they break out above it, they back test it, the highs of it, bounce again, right? Builds another structure, they even back test it, just goes all higher, right? Builds another structure here, sideways for like 2 weeks, back test this low, bounce again. So really no reflex at the moment. And it doesn't mean that if the bears break below a structure, right? Let's say they break below the structure, it's game over or anything, right? We've seen that a lot, right? So this is what I mean. Consolidate, side, build a structure, break below it. That would be like the first red flag, like the major one. But currently there is no real red flags at the moment. Something like this as well, right? Build a clear structure for 2-3 months after. This is what, yeah, this is a great example. So here, we ran 30%, right? Super clear uptrend, never broke it. Consolidate the highs. Best thing for bulls. Break the structure, right? So it was a 8% drop. Nothing too crazy, but you guys get what I mean. Break below the structure, and you can see bears try to defend it as well over here. Break below, try to form that lower high, right? The highs is the lows of the structure acting as resistance, and they couldn't do it. And then bulls just confirm the uptrend back to their favor. Next thing you know, all-time highs. All right, let's take a look at SPY. So SPY, similar idea, pretty much exactly the same thing, right? It's chilling at the highs. And SPY did a lot better this week. Right? I can see Qs are just slowly grinding down. The last 3 days, just chilling, because healthcare was doing a lot better this past 2 days for SPY, which is XLV, which is the healthcare sector. You can see, right, XLV up 1.6%, which there is no XLV in QQ, while there is XLV in SPY, so that's why it held up a lot better. UNH was up quite a bit this week, so healthcare sector held up SPY. So if you continue to get these like rotations, SPY is really not gonna get those huge drops, right? What you need to see is the tech sector being red, semiconductor sector being red, and then healthcare and financials also being red to get these big bear moves. And that would mean there is fear in the market. At the moment, right, there is like, you get these like tiny drops on tech, and then you get all these rotations into the other sectors, then really there is no fear. There's just money rotating around the market. So currently we're still getting money rotating around the market at the moment. What you want to see is all major sectors dropping at the same time for that kind of bearish action. All right, let's take a look at the Mag 7s to give us more clues if the market may weaken or not, because Mag 7 is the biggest weightings in the Qs, and Qs pretty much lead the SPY. All right, so no signs of reflex for Meta. Talked about this last week because of this earnings gap all here. Trend is back to the bulls. Right, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Just a very chill consolidation. Bull, monthly bull flag here, weekly, monthly bull flag. Breakout, and then trend is back to the bulls. That being said, 800 is acting as a psychological resistance. We didn't even touch it though, but we are just underneath 800. And because it's all-time highs, there is no real resistance. But that being said, it is showing there is just a little bit of resistance, right? We're underneath 800, right? You can see how these upper wicks. We're just letting price actually tell us where the resistance is. But so yeah, it's just a tiny little bit of resistance around these tops. You can see reacting all 3 days. So that is showing us there is a seller here. If this breaks out above this 796, we're looking at 800. And breaks above 800, we'll see where it goes. There's no resistance above 800. Maybe one day it'll be 846. I wouldn't be surprised if it went up to 846. 846 is just pretty much prior all-time high resistance. Over here, another one here, but it's only 2 touches, so I'm not gonna use it for anything really, just for visual guides. All right, let's take a look at Tesla. So Tesla broke bull this week. All right, this is a tiny range we've been looking at together for many months, and this is a smaller one inside as well. The bigger one is out here, right? Big move up, big move down, big move up, big move down, let's get smaller and smaller. And it finally broke out this week. So would I say this is a good breakout? What I want to see here is we break these pivots, right? When we break out from a tiny range, you want to break these pivots. This is a nice move from here to here. It was 14%, and we created a lot of space, right? This is one move. So now bears are showing up the last 3 days, but take it a little bit lower, but we still have a lot of space, right? EMAs are still intact. We're still above support, right? This low is created off of these highs, which is prior resistance, now acting as support. So what bulls need to do next week is pretty much bounce here, or they can go a little bit lower. I don't want to go too low, right? We don't want to give back too much of this move. As long as it's above 50%, bulls have the advantage. So goes a little bit lower. We don't want to go below 320. And then when we do bounce from here, we want to break this week's high to create that daily uptrend. And we'll confirm a clear trend after breaking out from a tightening range. That's what we want to see. When we do confirm that clear trend, we want to break these pivots towards this 364. So see if bulls can do that. And for you bears, what you want to do is come back below 320 into this 311 mark. What that means is that after breaking bull from a tightening range that tightened many months, and bulls can't even break above the pivots, that means it's a failed breakout. Then they'll have a chance to take this down to 311 and break bear into 300. That will likely fuel up the downside because of the failed breakout. So yeah, those are the 2 scenarios I'm looking at: bear and bull side. So we'll see which way. We'll see who wins this week. All right, look at Amazon. So Amazon pretty much bounced back all of its earnings drop. Yeah, so no huge red flags at the moment. Confirm its daily uptrend back to its favorite as well. But we are back to prior resistance, right? There's a little bit of resistance here before the earnings, and which is right underneath, right? All-time high structure. You can see resistance here as well. Other than that, if this was in blue sky like Meta, then there will be no resistance. But The clear resistance around these 230s. So if this breaks above, then we're looking at 235. We can break above this 235. Then we are going to test 241, which is all-time high resistance. If this does roll over right here, then we might look for a sideways, more like a tiny range, right? Big move down, big move up. If this does roll over, then we might look for something like this, where it just tightens up into the fall, which probably won't be surprising. So we'll see. But bears need to show up pretty much right here for this tiny range. Otherwise, it's just clear uptrend. All right, let's look at Google. Google, even better chart than Amazon because it didn't even drop for earnings, and it's in a clear uptrend. Although we are showing a tiny bit of resistance right at this all-time high, right? That's the only resistance left. But so you can see the last 3 days, it was resistance was at 204. Let's just zoom in a little bit more. Let's go to the hourly actually, right? Very clear resistance. Let's go 30-minute, right? Resistance, resistance, resistance to the tick, rejected the same, 204, 204, 204. Finally broke out on Friday, right? Boom. And then we really didn't go anywhere. So it might be slowing down a little bit because, right, 3 days of resistance and you broke above it, and we didn't make any moves higher. So it is showing a little bit of sign of slowing down, but nothing no red flags at the moment. What would be a red flag for me is, right, we break below this whole structure. Very clear resistance at 197, prior resistance. Probably going to act as support, which it did on Wednesday, right? You can see this lower wick pretty much exactly to the tick of this upper resistance zone. So what bears need to do, bare minimum, break at least 197 for any kind of action, right? You can break below 197, create enough space for me, then maybe we can form that downtrend. That being said, if we go lower, then we're looking down this support. Bounce, 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 bounce. It'll probably bounce again over here around this 187. Bounce doesn't mean it's gonna like bounce like this. It just means that it's probably gonna bounce. And then we'll see if the bears can control it to form the downtrend. If not, it'll probably just bounce like this then. But take it one step at a time. We're nowhere near that area yet. But that being said, bulls are still in full control. But similar idea, right? Even though they are in full control, you just got to be cautious. We are slowing down a little bit in terms of the higher highs don't fall through. And yeah. All right, Microsoft. So Microsoft with that blow off top look currently is still holding. So yeah, after 55% move, you get a blow off top, and bulls are actually playing defense. Right? You can see all these bounces from this support here. It's just the high of the prior structure. This mini structure here, bulls are actually playing defense. So pretty impressive bulls for bulls. To be able to hold even the latest structure after a blow off top. So what bears need to do? Very clear. Just break this base support level right here at 519 and crack into this structure, which is kind of looks like they're doing. So right, you can see all these highs are getting sold off every day. So if anyone that's going to weaken, is probably going to be Microsoft first. So if Microsoft leads to the downside, so we come back down to the 500 mark, and Microsoft starts its weekly consolidation, which it will, like it's inevitable, right? Look at this weekly move. It's one straight move, so it will start its consolidation soon, right? It needs to chill a little bit. Even the monthly chart, right? We have a gap here, which is ridiculous, but even if we pull back 20-30% from here, so not 20-30, 10 10 to 15%, right? It's a healthy pullback. A bull flag from here to here, 476. So that would be the yellow box. That's a 14% pullback. It will still be a monthly bull flag, meaning it's a very healthy, strong pullback for the bulls. And we wouldn't be even a red flag for long-term holders because it's still a monthly bull flag. That being said, right, it will probably chill soon. So if keep an eye watching Microsoft, right? If Microsoft starts to lead to the downside, next week the market will likely slow down. If anyone that's going to go down first, probably going to be Microsoft because of the structure of the charts, where the price action is showing us there is a lot of resistance up here, right? Every time we come up, it gets sold off, sold off, sold off. Versus, right, this is like no red flags at the moment. Yeah. So if any bear is going to start, probably will start with Microsoft. All right, let's take a look at Apple. So Apple is just chilling at right beneath resistance 235. Very clear. Resistance, resistance, resistance. So prior resistance here, which is the high of this entire structure. If bulls can clear this structure, we're gonna come up and test this structure now, right? So yeah, so bulls are just currently testing here. Bears are defending here at the moment, right? You can see the last 3 days, bears tried to sell it off lower, but bulls are buying the dip, right? So you can see this low is just the prior resistance. Breakout, back test, now is acting as support. So bare minimum for bears, you want to crack at least this Friday's low and come back towards just 223. And if they can retrace the whole thing all the way to 223 or 219, then we may set up something for potential sideways around this area like this, just like kind of like what it did over here and what it did down here as well, kind of like a sideways chip chop, which kind of Apple really likes to do that. Breaks above an area, chip chop, or breaks down to an area and like just makes a chip chop. Does that a lot, right? Over here as well, chip chop. But if we do break above here, then we have a chance up here. Then maybe we'll chip chop here when the market consolidates. So we'll see. We'll see if the bulls can break above this next zone to the next next area. But for now, this 235 is resistance. All right, Nvidia. So Nvidia pretty much still leading the market, right? It's been strong uptrend. The semiconductor sector is super strong. So as long as the semiconductor sector does not slow down, the Qs are fine, right? If you see semiconductor super strong and the Qs and you're getting Meg 7's rotation, right? Let's say Microsoft goes red and the rest of the Meg 7's are all green, right? That's no big deal, right? It's like market's not going to drop just because Microsoft was red. And so continue to get these rotations between them, then it's fine, right? You might get a sideways action in the market because you know some of them are red, some of them are green. Market rotation into different sectors, money still flowing around, and then it'll probably just be a very, very healthy consolidation on the overall market. You know, something like this, even though it might look like a huge drop, right? Let's say it's a 10% drop, right? Zoom out, it's like, oh, right, big deal. It's like just super healthy pullback, right? Something like that if the market continues to rotate. So we'll take it one step at a time, right? Let's say it's a big drop, then you get a weak bounce, bear flag, we'll see it coming, right? And it goes lower, then okay, maybe there's some cracks in the markets. Maybe unemployment data is coming weaker. We'll have to see as well. So, but for now, very clear resistance 184, right? Zoom in. We can see Nvidia is slowing down, right? Well, for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 resistance, resistance, resistance. You can see there is a very clear seller here, right? We just have to look at the price action. We know there is a seller here. It's not like this is a 1 day thing, right? For this whole week, there is this guy, Every time he reaches 184, he presses the sell button, right? Sell button or short, whatever it is. Um, sell button, sell button, sell button, right? And now it's closing underneath it. So very clear there is a seller here. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes a little bit lower next week into, let's see, zoom in a little bit. Yeah, if it comes out to 174, I wouldn't be surprised at all. We did break this 179 here, but you can see 178 was bought up, bought the dip. So people are still buying the dip at the moment, which is the prior. You see this high here, right? The structure is still acting as support. Yeah, 174 is probably going to support as well. So we'll have to see. It's not even that far. Let's see. Yeah, 3%. You could probably get there in one day. Or if we get it like a red day, it's very easy to just get a 3% drop. But I wouldn't, yeah, I would be more careful for the bigger consolidation, the weekly one. Even we pull back to 162 or 153, right? Come back all the way here, 163, 152, sorry, for a back test up where we broke out from, right? Prior all-time high, big breakout above prior all-time high, back test here, wouldn't, right? It's a very healthy pullback, very, very healthy pullback. That's actually still above the bull flag. So bull flag just above this yellow box. As long as above the yellow box, this 38.2% retracement is still a bull flag. Right? It just means that we retraced 38% of this move, right? Which is pretty much coinciding with highs of here. So if we come back here, form a monthly bull flag, and then bounce from here into maybe a Christmas mallard rally or something like this. Boom. But that's just predicting too far out. But I'm just saying that it's the whole point of that was saying that even if it pulls back all the way there, which is a 15% pullback, right? It's still a healthy, consider a healthy pullback. So you don't really want to be like opening a long position all the way up here to hold for like a longer term kind of thing, right? You want to be adding for a longer term hold when things are, going lower or something like here, right? It's like downtrending, you don't know where to add, but after here, it confirmed a solid uptrend here, right, and broke out, right? You can add here. It's still better than adding right here. You know what I mean? And then you just ride the trend, essentially. Right? If you added here, this could have all come down here. You don't know, right? But after here, it tested again these levels and showing support at these levels. And then we broke out of this clear 144 resistance at the same time, breaking out of this clear resistance. And the market was showing strong moves. And everybody was following it too, right? All the MX7s at the same time are going green. That you can add here for riding with the momentum. I think I'll just hold it for a couple months. Or if you're a long-term investor, honestly, it doesn't matter where you add. Just add on weakness. If you're like a 5-6 year holder, right? You see like a 46% drop, you just press the buy button, every month, and it's whatever price you get. All right, well, that is all I got for you guys. Feel free to comment if you guys have any questions, and feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. It'll help out the channel. And if you guys want to support the channel, feel free to go to the Patreon link and check that out, or any one-on-ones, book that 15-minute free call. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for the commodities update. Have a great rest of you guys' weekend.